nation's commercial capital. This is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, former CBN Governor Sanusi Lamido Sanusi recommends unbundling of the newly formed NNPC Limited, questions official volume of daily consumption of petrol, and says next government must brace for hard choices. Former INEC resident Electoral Commissioner says allegations of plot to stop use of bimodal voter accreditation machine in next year's elections should not be swept under the carpet. Security operatives uncover another illegal oil pipeline in the Trans-Forcados line in Delta State. And death toll following the explosion in a coal mine in northern Turkey rises to 41, with 11 others injured.
On business news tonight, Central Bank of Nigeria announces plans to establish 10 agents' offices in every local government area to deepen the use of e-naira in the country.
And on sports news tonight, Plateau United FC crash out of the African Champions League after losing via an away goals against Esperance FC of Tunisia. If the picture that has been painted of the current state of the nation's economy by a former governor of the central bank captures the reality, then the next government in the country must brace for difficult decisions from day one. And this is exactly the recommendation by the 14th Emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, who has queried the volume of the nation's daily consumption of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol. Now, the former CBN governor is lamenting the amount spent on fuel subsidy payments annually and has demanded that the NNPC Limited be unbundled, noting that the company cannot continue to exist as it is. He was speaking at the Kaduna Economic Summit today.
His Highness Khalifa Mohammed Sanusi II.
The CAD Invest 7.0 created another opportunity for the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, to question decisions about the economy, decisions he believes are doing more harm than good. Issues in the nation's oil and gas sector are of particular concern, as he reiterates the urgent need to unbundle the NNPC.
First is to recognize that NNPC is not a cash cow, it's a money pit. Just unbundle it, disband it, continue to implement the PIB properly, and turn them into a properly commercial. And when I say implement, it is not just to set up companies and leave the same people and the same processes and the same system, but with a different name. It means properly implement that act.
According to him, with the continued dwindling of the nation's resources, the country faces a debt trap.
The cost of servicing debt in Nigeria with the federal government is 2.597 trillion. Whereas revenues were 2.4. This is first half of 2022. In other words, debt service is now 108% of revenue. Every naira the federal government earns, goes to service debt. And it is not enough. It has to borrow to service the debt. And then begin to borrow to pay salary, borrow to pay overheads, borrow to build roads, borrow to build. Let me ask you, what do you think we are leaving our children behind? A mountain of debt. Every generation wants to leave a legacy so that our children and grandchildren will be praying for us and asking God to have mercy on us, not cursing us. You leave them with a mountain of debt. You have not educated them. Money that should go, money that we should put into their education, into their health care, even assuming this fuel subsidy is all genuine, we have taken that money to give ourselves cheap petrol. That is what we are borrowing to enjoy cheap petrol today so that our children will pay that debt. When we have not invested the money in the education and prepared them to earn and service the debt. And even though we recognize there's a problem, what are we saying? We'll continue paying until June. No plans. We have no plans for changing. Yeah, we see the problem, but we are going to continue. I'm sorry for the next president who comes in on June and says, I'm removing subsidy on day one.
Sanusi's decades of experience in economics comes to bear as he urges the incoming government to brace for hard decisions.
We can see where from the fiscal side and the monetary side, the challenges that we have, and the decisions that will be taken to correct are going to be very painful decisions. So let me first of all, please request our politicians, you must prepare the minds of Nigerians for difficult decisions. Anybody who tells you that it is going to be easy, please don't vote for him. Because it's either he's lying to you or he does not know what job he's going to get. You cannot with this level of debt service, with this level of collapse in revenue, with this level of poverty, you cannot. And you have to take corrective decisions. Tariffs on the electricity sector have to be corrected. Tariffs in the oil sector have to be corrected. But before we correct that, we have to deal with the opportunities for rent seeking. You have to close off the inflated numbers, the false numbers. And I hope that whoever becomes president in 2023, the first thing they should do is ask NMPC to document and bring evidence for every dollar they took as subsidy.
These reforms, he says, will help curb global economic shocks and help correct the wrongs of the past.
Staying with the Kaduna Investment Summit and the dire economic reality, the former CBN Governor Sanusi Lamido Sanusi urged states to innovate and become more resilient against global economic shocks. Governor Nasir El-Rufai, on his part, said his administration, since inception, has been mindful of the global economic shock and has therefore been providing the conducive environment for the private sector to drive the economy.
God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You may please be seated. Thank you.
The Kaduna Investment and Economic Summit is an annual event introduced in 2016 by the present administration to highlight the potentials of the economy of the state and attract investors to the state.
Welcome once again to CADINVEST 7.0. The summit.
With the theme Building a Resilient Economy, this year's summit, which is the 7th in its series, brings together heads of government agencies, captains of industry, businessmen, traditional rulers and politicians, including the presidential candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress. Since inception, the state government has attracted a total investment portfolio of about $4.4 billion in actual and announced investments, with 75,000 direct and indirect jobs also created within the same period. Governor Nasir El-Rufai gives a recap of the economic summit and also highlights some of the gains recorded so far.
We wanted a state where there are abundant economic opportunities and prosperity, social inclusion, peace and security, good governance, and improved quality of life of the citizenry. We've tried to do that in the last 7 years. We have succeeded in some areas, we haven't succeeded in some, and we hope that Senator Obasani's government will continue in that direction.
In his address, the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Muhammadu Sanusi, attributes the dwindling support from the federal government to states to poor financial management and policy somersault, adding that states must find ways to free themselves.
But more generally, I think states need to free themselves of federal dominance. You have to free yourselves of relying on the federal government. Just assume that you're not going to get help from the center. Okay, build your infrastructure. As the Kaduna state governor said, build your own power supply, attract your own investors, educate your children, create your own jobs.
The presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress in the 2023 election, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, shares his thoughts on how to create the enabling environment for states to maximize their potentials, while the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, who represented President Muhammadu Buhari, commends the Kaduna state government for attracting local and foreign investors into the state.
I am particularly happy to be in an economic summit such as this. It reminds me when I started as the governor of Lagos, the Ekiti summit more than 20 years ago. Nigeria needs it. As soon as 2023 is done, we're still going to have summits to make governance easy for thinking and doing.
The success of subnationals in attracting investments, creating jobs, and increasing their internally generated revenue is critical to the success of the entire country. I'm therefore impressed that the Kaduna state government has, from inception, used CADInvest as a veritable platform for showcasing its investment potentials.
Justifying the theme of CADInvest 7.0, which is building a resilient economy, Governor Nasir El-Rufai and other speakers here are of the same view that it has become necessary for government to be innovative, especially in the wake of the global economic slowdown, and to sustain reforms into the next administration.
Well, to politics, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has unveiled his agenda and campaign manifesto to the leadership of the Arewa Consultative Forum and other northern socio-political organizations. Addressing the northern leaders in Kaduna, the former vice president gave the assurance that if elected president in 2023, he will tackle insecurity that has been ravaging the region, revive the nation's ailing economy, and reunite the different parts of the country.
As we go to the polls in February 2023, there can be no better opportunity for the public to interrogate our ideas and strategies to deal with a plethora of local and national issues, from the mundane to the most complex, particularly those issues that have important weight on the future of northern Nigeria. I hereby present myself for that interrogation. You can interrogate me today. However, I would like to caution that northern Nigeria's current social and economic challenges call for sober reflection. The partisan politicking, irrespective of our political differences, it should be our collective desire to see northern Nigeria fulfill our potentials in the not too distant future. I can't wait. So what is Atiku Abubakar's development agenda for Nigeria and northern Nigeria in particular? My development agenda seeks the political and economic transformation of Nigeria into a united, secure, and prosperous country in which all citizens can live a happy, healthy, and productive life. Economic prosperity is an integral part of this agenda.
In part two, after the break, flood continues to wreak havoc in parts of the country. Governor Doye Diri of Bayelsa State calls for the construction of a dam in the Niger Delta region to help curb the disasters. That's in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Former CBN Governor Sanusi Lamido Sanusi recommends unbundling of the newly formed NNPC Limited, questions official volume of daily consumption of petrol, and says next government must brace for hard choices. Former INEC resident electoral commissioner says allegations of plot to stop use of bimodal voter accreditation machine in next year's elections should not be swept under the carpet. Security operatives uncover another illegal oil pipeline in the Transforcados line in Delta State. And death toll following the explosion in a coal mine in northern Turkey rises to 41, with 11 others injured. Osun State has held its local government election with varying levels of voter turnout recorded in different polling units. Our correspondent who monitored the exercise in different parts of the state gathered that residents complied to some extent with government's restriction order on unauthorized movement of humans and vehicles during the conduct of the election. Other political parties, including the PDP, had objected to the conduct of the poll, but some of the voters described the exercise as credible and rancor-free.
People, as we have conducted an election by OSEC, and that is the body that is empowered, that is authorized to conduct the election. They have done the election, so there is no reason where anybody is saying when they get there we are going to dissolve them. No, you dissolve them, you want to dissolve the will of the people, and that is tantam, that is sacrosanct.
My expectation is that the whole thing will be successful. It will be successful, since there's no any problem, no fighting, no any rowdiness.
While also addressing journalists after casting his vote at Ward 2 Unit 1 in his hometown, Iragbiji Governor Gboyega Oyetola lauded the peaceful atmosphere that characterized the conduct of the election.
Local government election is very important, and that's the grassroots contact, with government. So it's important for all of us to exercise our civic responsibility by casting our votes for candidates of our choice. I must commend the security agencies for maintaining adequate security in most of the polling units. I believe the process is credible, free, and I believe we are going to have a very conducive environment all through the period of the election. I must commend OSEC for ensuring that they have adequate materials for people to come around and vote.
It appears the coalition of united political parties is not alone in the call for Nigerians to resist an alleged plot by some persons to stop the electoral umpire from deploying the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, in the 2023 general elections. A former resident electoral commissioner to Enugu State, Mr. Emeka Onomanadu, is the latest to raise the alarm over the alleged plan. Mr. Emeka, who spoke at a news conference by civil society organizations in Abuja, warned the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and well-meaning Nigerians to stand up against politicians who do not want the BVAS machine.
If a coalition of opposition...
The former resident electoral commissioner to Enugu State, Mr. Emeka Onomanadu, is joining all the leaders of the Center for Transparency Advocacy at this news conference in Abuja to express concerns on activities leading to the 2023 general election. The group notes that the introduction of technology in the management of elections in Nigeria has raised the confidence of electorate and wants the electoral umpire to resist advances that could undermine the credibility of the 2023 elections.
We woke up on Wednesday to allegations by CUPP about a purported plan by some politicians to compromise the 2023 elections. They allege a plan to pressurize INEC to deactivate the BVAS from its server as well as stop the electronic transmission of results. CTA therefore strongly condemns such plans and urge Nigerians to rally around INEC and its current leadership to resist any attempt to stop the use of the BVAS machines as well as protect INEC chairman and national commissioners from any form of intimidation, harassment, and undue pressure. Nigerians must insist on the use of the BVAS and the electronic transmission of results from the polling units.
There is incremental achievements that have been recorded, which all of us could see during the concluding part of continuous voter registration exercise. Nigerians are coming out and willing because of the deployment of BVAS. I was a former resident electoral commissioner, and I know the complaints people make. Will my vote count? They are not too sure, but the fear will lead them into that conclusion. So, my brother, I am very clear that the law is clear, but in Nigeria, when there is smoke, check out, there is some fire somewhere.
The National Working Committee of the Labour Party had earlier joined the coalition of united political parties to express similar concern.
Attempts are being clandestinely made by the opposition in collusion with the federal government to put INEC under pressure with a view to deactivating BVAS, deactivating BVAS. NWC session view these criminal tendencies with every seriousness and vow to resist such electoral malpractices.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has since the introduction of the card reader in 2015 continued to introduce additional technologies into the country's elections management system. The BVAS machine is one of the latest innovations of the Commission, which many political analysts say has contributed immensely to the credibility of some of the recent elections in the country.
About 6 people are reported to have died after a boat capsized in the Niger State part of the river Kaduna as a result of heavy downpour and windstorm. The Niger State Emergency Management Agency explained in a statement that it received the report of the boat accident, which occurred at the Igbara area of Makwa local government area. The boat, with 48 passengers, was said to have taken off from Langchikagi village of Lavan local government area and was heading to Igbara village when it went under the water. 37 persons are said to have survived, with 6 dead bodies recovered and 5 persons still missing. And now to the flooding ravaging parts of the country. The governor of Bayelsa State, Doye Diri, is calling on the federal government to construct a dam in the Niger Delta region that will aid in alleviating the annual hardship experienced in the region due to flood. Governor Diri made this known during an on-the-spot assessment tour of flood-ravaged communities.
Bayelsa State in the south-south region is one of the states badly affected by flooding, and it seems the water levels are not going down anytime soon. Troubled by the consistent call for intervention by residents in affected areas, Governor Doyediri is on a tour to see for himself the severity of the problem.
I can't come this way again. Where that stick.
There were fears that the Bielsa International Airport and its environs would be affected by flooding, but a visit by the governor's team shows that the facility is intact. However, in Amasoma, portions of the road leading to the community have been cut off.
All of them are like this.
The governor calls on the federal government to provide more sustainable solution to mitigate the effects of flooding.
From the beginning of this flood up until today, we have not seen any federal government official in our state. I don't know if they are in other states. We have not seen any statement other than saying we warned them before. I mean, what is there about warning anybody? We are looking for permanent solutions. Federal government should be proactive, inviting state governments, subnational governments to dialogue on permanent solutions to this perennial flooding.
The governor also sympathizes with victims affected by the disaster and promises them that the state government will do its best to provide succor through relief materials and medical supplies.
It's going to cost the state government billions and billions of naira to ensure that our roads are repaired. Not only that, the individual losses in terms of houses that have collapsed as a result of the flood. In terms of the deaths that we have witnessed, there are a lot that even no one can even pay for.
Other places visited are the Bielsa State School of Nursing and Midwifery, Tombia Ekwetiama, Glory Drive linking Igbogene, Alamesia Road, Opolo, Oxbow Lake, and the Bielsa State House of Assembly quarters, also all greatly affected by flooding.
Meanwhile, the River State government has activated an emergency response for the flood, which has sacked thousands of people from their homes. Many communities in about 4 local government areas in the River's West Senatorial District are also cut off from the city center, as the East-West Road is now overtaken by the flood.
The devastation is huge and unimaginable. Many houses submerged in water. Only the rooftops are visible testimonies of the extent of flooding. The people say it's the worst in many years. 4 local government areas in the western senatorial districts bordering Bielsa State are worse hit. The East-West Road, connecting rivers to states like Bielsa, Delta, Edo and beyond, is now completely cut off, leaving commuters and residents stranded.
So the water is dangerous for now, for the people to walk past. All the farmland have been destroyed. There's no cassava anywhere again. There is no plantain anywhere again. Everything, even people that live in mud house have been flooded down.
Help is, however, coming the way of the residents, as the Flood Management Committee, set up by Governor Nyesom Wike, is making its first visit to Ahoda East and Ahoda West local government areas for needs assessment.
We have come to see, we'll go back now, put this together, so it will not just be a story, but we'll come back with some action, so the people will receive some kind of relief. That's why we are happy with what the chairman have done. Even the traditional ruler of this place, what he has done is quite commendable.
Some of the communities have now become hard to reach, and not even the provision of canoes can help. Residents are taking refuge in camps provided by the local authorities.
Response. We do hope that when as it is now, they are in Elderly people, they are all stuck there now. So what we are doing is to get rescue team to go and pick them out of that place, to bring them to Ahoda East, where we can have place for them to stay. Our IDP camps are no longer in Ahoda West. On this part of Uge, we are coming to Ahoda East now for rescue. So the whole of Ahoda West is shut out. All the communities in Uge Crown, you cannot access them anymore.
On day 2 of its assessment, the committee is visiting Ogba, Egbema and Doni local government area.
He has brought the team to see to the suffering of our people, Onega people, mostly the Reba people in this ID camp, so that as they go back, they will see the things that are happening side by side and then bring succor to the local government.
The committee is expected to visit the 4th impacted local government area of Abua Odual to have a clear understanding of how to manage the 1 billion naira that was approved by Governor Nyesom Wike for the provision of relief items to the victims.
Another illegal pipeline has been discovered in Okuntu community just a few kilometers away from Focado's export terminal in Delta State. The 6-inch pipe was connected to the 48-inch Focado's crude export line and stretches about 6 kilometers into the sea, where it is received from an abandoned Ajib facility. Our energy correspondent Olu Phillips brings us these details.
We are the Ajib platform, a wellhead. Of course, deactivated. It's no more working. And this is the point of another discovered point of crude oil export via the offshore. Interesting how they have left just having to tap the major lines and cook it in the communities, as it were. This is major scale exports, unquantifiable number of liquids, unquantifiable number of crude that leaves this point where vessels just come latch on, and the connection is coming all the way from a 48-inch Focado's line, where they have made an incision, traveling all the way through that linear line, tapped it into an existing Ajib line that isn't functional, but the pipes are there. Actually, where we are sends crude back for processing. So that line is what they have used in terms of reverse or reversal to now use as an export line. Smart one, but I mean smart criminality, you would say, and that has cost the nation to the point where even the federal government is now raising an onslaught against crude oil theft. Let's talk to the head of the security guys that are here, who actually helped in discovering this, the Tantita guys, the private security that has been engaged by the federal government. You can see crude dripping. It means that this is active. The stealing is active. So when people tell you they've just discovered a line like this, it gives away a lot in terms of doubt. Help us, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Phillips. As you already noted, the line, the criminals connected to a 48-inch export pipeline from Shell terminal in Ogula, Focado's terminal, and they bring it here. Like you rightly explained, it is connected to an Ajib pipeline that had not been used for quite some time now, and it comes here. Look at this place. Please, can you go back a little? You can see that there is a valve here.
Yeah.
Okay. When they come, they connect their flanges here. When they connect their flanges here, they take it down to the ship where the ship will be below, and
kind of like a hose.
Like a hose, yeah.
A hose.
Yeah. They connect a flange and they connect a hose to the flange.
Then tie it up.
Then they do. Look at this. What they do is this serves like a seal.
Yes.
They put this here for leak. And so when they bring the other seal here, you see this is what gives this kind of gap that you see on the seals here.
Yeah.
So when they do this, they just take the hose down and they load their ships. Now, how long has this been? From our intel, this has been over 3 years to 5 years. And the last time somebody discovered this was about 3 years ago. And they told us that they reported this to Shell. Of course, I don't know if Shell will want to agree to that, but we were told that they reported this to Shell like 3 years ago.
They say that the sea, the ocean, gives you an endless opportunity in terms of commerce. This same ocean, this same blue economy has served the economy of crude oil thieves. And mindless way of doing this in such manner that if you didn't have to engage to the point of this discovery, then it tells you the quantum on quantum of crude and barrels that leave this country undetected, quantifiable and unaccounted for. It's a deactivated wellhead, but those that should know should quickly fix this, and let's see how much that can be ramped up in terms of bringing back the crudes. From the Ajib terminal here offshore for Kados, Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
In recent times, the Nigerian Army Women Corps has been in the public space, featuring in various special operations of the military. According to the former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Yusuf Buratai, this is aimed at giving the Army the opportunity to recognize the contributions of women in the nation's defense and security. In this next report, our correspondent Gloria Omezoke looks at the contribution of women in the nation's security architecture since the setting up of the Corps about 4 years ago.
Soldiers of the Nigerian Army Women Corps thrilling the audience at the 2022 Democracy Day parade. Their participation in the parade is considered a step in the efforts to integrate women into the operations of the Nigerian Army. Established in March 2018 by the then Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Yusuf Buratai, the Corps has 2 battalions, one Special Women Operations Battalion located in Giri, Abuja, and 2 Special Women Special Operations Battalion located in Abakaliki, Ebonyi State, southeast Nigeria. The idea is to provide competent female officers and soldiers in support of all operational engagements of the Nigerian Army.
What a man can do, a woman can do better.
Among other tasks, the Corps plays complementary roles in civil military operations as well as escort duties. They've been deployed for several military operations, including the monitoring of the Abuja-Kaduna highway.
We carry out offensive patrol along the express road to build the confidence of the commuters and also to deny the enemy freedom of action on the highway.
About 300 soldiers were deployed for that purpose, and the ladies share the experience.
We've been here for about a month now for this operation. So far, so good. I bless God for the courage. At first, I wasn't courageous enough to come because of the scores we hear that is happening on the expressway. But seeing my seniors that has been in the job encouraging us gives me joy. The way the civilians respect you. Sometimes there are stubborn ones who wants to make trouble by following the one way. While you try to control them, they give you reasons, some run away. But thank God that as for the past time we have been here, we've not heard or encounter any of the bandits.
I'm here to patrol, to defend my country and defend the nation as a female soldier being deployed. And always do better than more men. Even men out there know me as in Las Coprania as a combatant female soldier. Whatever I see, even when I was in Northeast, I always fight whatever comes to my way. Even being patrol, as in sitting in back healers, I always sit gallant. Even people don't always remember that he's a female soldier there.
The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps is also following in the footsteps of the Army by setting up a female armed squad, and the major task of the squad is to provide security in schools across the country. The squad, which is in every state of the Federation, currently has over 500 personnel.
Female squad is designed to boost the federal government safety initiative. We protect the school. We go to schools and then sensitize the children on how to be security conscious. Not only that, We talk about, we advise the school to install the CCTV cameras for the school in case of any emergencies. So not only that, we also go to the hostel, we make a search, we tell the school authority that we want to search the school hostel. Sometimes we seize cutlasses, knives, weapons. What are you doing with it in the school? So sometimes we make arrests and bring them to the office.
The integration of women in security operations is considered as a strategic move, and the authorities are hoping that more women will join the teams across all security agencies. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Nigeria is recording huge loss of revenue with the continued harboring of stolen artifacts belonging to the country by European and American institutions and private persons. This is coming from the Minister of Information and Culture, Mr. Lai Mohammed, against the backdrop of the return of about 21 artifacts to Nigeria from the United States. The minister says thousands of such artifacts are still sitting in foreign lands, and he has asked those who have them in their possession to release them. Mr. Mohammed spoke to our political correspondent, Shehu Okibaloye, in Washington, D.C.
When we started this campaign in 2019, and between then and today, we've had University of Cambridge returning a cockerel, Aberdeen University returning another Benin bronze. We've succeeded in getting the German government to sign an agreement with us to release 1,130 Benin bronzes. In November, we'll be going to the UK, where another 72 artifacts will be returned. And of course, yesterday you saw that we signed an agreement for the 21 artifacts that shared between the Smithsonian National Gallery of Art, National Museum of Art, the National Gallery, and the Rhodes School of Design. So I think so far between 2019 and today, we've actually made, good success. Well, we are losing not just in terms of revenue being lost. We are losing also in terms of cultural heritage. We are losing in terms of being unable to even let our children understand their history.
In other stories, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, has been speaking of the role of the Petroleum Training Institute to the attainment of the nation's energy transition plan. Mr. Boss Mustafa charged the institute to evolve with the time as well as collaborate with industry operators and government agencies in order to redefine its role in the new emerging dispensation. He was speaking at an event organized by the institute in Abuja.
You must be disruptive because of the uncertainties and the climate in which you are bound to operate, given what is happening globally. The present global movement towards energy transition and the increasing demand for adoption and utilization of cleaner sources of energy, the decarbonization drive in fossil fuel extraction and its attendant obligation, the requisite strategies to key into the federal government's declaration of decade of gas flaring should be some of the preoccupations of the Institute in its effort at meeting the technical and technological human capacity requirement and the growth and development of the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. It is appropriate at this time for the Institute to increase or reassess its relationship with the major players in the oil and gas sector, such as the NNPC Limited and the private sector-driven international and indigenous oil and gas companies in relation to its capacity for meeting the high expectation of these organizations in their demand for training of staff and providing training solutions to contemporary technical challenges confronting their operations.
Our business news is up next with Ann Waldo.
Thank you, Ayotunde. Hello and welcome to Business News. In an effort to boost e-Naira adoption in Nigeria, the Central Bank of Nigeria has announced plans to establish at least 10 agents' offices in each of the 774 local government areas in the country, bringing the numbers to 7,740. The Apex Bank also continued its awareness campaign by visiting the Galadimawa area in Abuja, a major hub for commercial tricycle and motorcycle operators in the Federal Capital Territory. Speaking at the sensitization event, Dr. Khalifa Nuhu, the information officer who represented the Director of Information and Communication Technology, Rakia Mohammed, explains that the awareness drive remains a major tool to deepen the use of e-Naira in the country.
We are here for e-Naira adoption drive. I'm sure we've all heard of e-Naira before. It's a central bank digital currency. That is the digital equivalent of the Naira we spend on a day-to-day basis. We are here today to promote awareness, get people to intimate with this new form of money, understand what it is, onboard people to use it, and in a simplified way, that is registering people onto the platform. And today we are here to engage the wider community of Keke Napep riders, as our adoption drive covers all sectors and all segments. So today, in partnership with one of our adoption partners, Busy Mobile Nigeria, we are engaging the Keke Napep community so that we can educate them on what e-Naira is, how they can be registered onto the platform, which we call onboarding, how they can use the platform, how they can use it for exchange, how they can also help us be ambassadors for this product, which is a national asset for everyone in the country. It's the same as what you use on a day-to-day basis, the Naira. So we hope this engagement today will improve everybody's understanding of e-Naira, know its benefits, and also with the people we engage, help us drive its use, educate people what it is, and at the ultimate end of the day, the ultimate target is, like I've mentioned, to get people to use it and understand its benefits. So
the activities and government cycles largely influence the success or the failure of any business in the country. And that's according to the Director General of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Shegun Kaduri. Mr. Kaduri, who made this known at an interview with Channels Television, says the transition in government is coming at a peculiar period and highlighted the association's expectations on the new government.
Naturally, this is an anxious time for us, and what we are looking to is on the one hand, to continue to engage the present government before the finance bill for 2022 is passed. There are still outstanding issues that we are very worried about, and then also we'll be engaging the gladiators, so to say, the leading political parties, as to what their intentions are and as to what plans they have for the economy. We'll also be discussing with them, engaging with them on the blueprint for the accelerated development of the manufacturing sector, which we have crafted to be able to engage the new administration with. I mean, what we are expecting is that we have a transition that is smooth, because if it's smooth politically, it will be smooth for the business people. And then that we are able to continue the dialogue for an improved environment. These are indeed very difficult times, and we shouldn't have any letdown that is due to the transition.
Let's talk about trading activities on the forex market. It was mostly positive for this week as the total turnover of transactions carried out at the FX spot, forwards and futures markets all rose by 13.6% to $453.37 billion as at October the 14th. But the trading result shows that total value of transactions at the I&E window fell by 21.5% to $294.8 million, while transactions at the FX derivatives market jumped by more than 580%, coming to $158.5 million. Also, the value of Naira fell by 0.83% to 440 kobo, Naira 8 kobo against a dollar at the NAFEX window compared to 436 Naira 47 kobo recorded last week. And that's business news for this week. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawudu. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's back to you, Ayatollah.
Many thanks, Anne. History has been made in Ekiti State as the first airport in the state has been commissioned for cargo and passenger services. The project, which lasted for 30 months, is the biggest to be commissioned by Dr. Kayode Fayemi, whose tenure as governor of the state expires in just a few hours.
This airport is a world standard airport. In aviation language, it's called a Category 4E airport. And this means it can accommodate large aircrafts. A Boeing 747-400 can land comfortably in this airport. The cargo apron is 155 meters by 128 meters, and it can conveniently accommodate two Boeing 747-400. The runway length is 3.2 kilometers. The width is 60 meters, 45 meters full strength, and 7.5 meters each at the shoulders. And the terminal building is built to operate and process international and domestic passengers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Governor. You have done it and you have provided it for the people of Ekiti. They should own it. They should own it, to do business with it, to connect this huge, rich history and culture and tradition. And most importantly, tourism. I've seen a site of a wonderful waterfall within this state. I've seen the rocks, the vegetation, everything. Airports are the best catalyst for an economic growth and development of any nation. 35% of global trade by value is moved through air transportation.
Time now for some sports news, and not too cheery news for Plateau United FC fans. Well, the club have crashed out of the CAF Champions League after slipping to a 1-0 defeat against Esperance of Tunisia at the Olympic Stadium in Radez. Ben Rodane scored the deciding goal via a penalty in the 83rd minute to send the Tunisian champions to the group stage of the money-spinning competition on the away goals. Meanwhile, Kwara United also crashed out of the second-tier CAF Confederation Cup after losing 2-0 to title holders Renaissance Sportive de Berkane at the Municipal Stadium in Berkane. The goals from Jibril Ouattara and Sharki El Bari ensured the Moroccan side level aggregate score at 3-3, but progressed to the final qualifying round on the away goals rule. Arise Foundation is breaking new grounds in sports with the introduction of the Arise Football Development Program to help nurture talent for the future. With that in mind, Super Eagles legends were at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena for a charity football match against the Arise team to inspire the younger generation to chase their dreams.
It's a busy day at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena, Onikon, with over 500 kids and teenagers warming up to be among the 25 players that will find a new path in their football career. An opportunity made possible by founder of the Arise Women Conference, Shiju Iluyomade.
I learned also on this journey that you catch them young, that it's easier when you catch the talent at before 10. I was shocked. I thought it was the oldies with their stiff muscles that played football. They said to me, no, it's the child. And that is why those children came. So if they have a future, you will see it. It's just like a genius you would know.
With warm-ups over, players engage in a football match and the best are chosen.
What Arise wants to do is get those ones who stand out, who have talent, and try to develop them in what they call the Arise Football Development Program. The objective is that after they've developed them fit enough, they put them out there to compete in the world stage.
Time for the main event of the day, a charity match between Team Arise and Super Eagles legends. The excitement is palpable as the legends grace the pitch. Tijani Babangida and Samson Siasia roll back the years as the legends emerge 3-1 winners. For the legends, a project like this is close to their heart.
A very wonderful event we are all having here, and thanks to Dr. Siju, who have put all this together. She's wonderful, and I use this platform to really acknowledge her efforts and her concern.
I think that's the best thing that can happen to you, the love from the kids. And it's always good to give back. What Mommy is doing is wonderful.
The winners are not going home empty-handed as they are presented with medals and the trophy. The legends also acknowledge Shiju Iluyomade with an award for her contribution to sports development and several humanitarian projects in assisting the less privileged in the country.
Well, outside our shores, thousands of protesters have taken to the streets of Tunisia's capital to demonstrate against the president. Parallel demonstrations by political movements who are deeply opposed to each other were held in Tunis. Both groups denounced Kais Saied as an autocrat who is reversing the democratic progress made since the 2011 uprising. They also demanded accountability for the country's economic crisis, which has seen food and fuel shortages. 41 people have died following an explosion in a coal mine in northern Turkey. Now, the discovery of the final missing body brings the rescue operation to an end more than 20 hours after Friday's deadly blast. Earlier, the Interior Minister said 58 people working in the mine when the blast went off were rescued or got out by themselves. Mr. Suleiman Soylu says in the meantime 10 people remain in hospital and 1 was discharged. And the main news again. Well, the former CBN Governor Sanusi Lamido Sanusi today recommended the unbundling of the newly formed NNPC Limited. The 14th Emir of Kano, who spoke at the 7th edition of the Kaduna Investment Summit, also said the next government must brace for hard choices going forward. Well, that's the news at 10. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. From all of us here is good night and stay safe.